And this third panel of Take Invest Summit 2019 is probably one, at least from my point of view, is probably one of the most interesting panels. Now, I know that I'm making a little bit stronger, but I know that our panelists will do an amazing job as always, because I had a pleasure to listen each one of them even before. Education systems are quite important for entrepreneurs of different kind. What kind of education system is necessary for entrepreneurs in order to enable them to cope with all those challenges that are unknown and unpredictable? Because, as you know, we live in a world which is such. And this will be the focus of this panel. And I never had issues talking publicly, but I do have a small issue to announce this group of people. Of some great friends and great WBAF fellows. So it is my honor to announce Mr. Adnan Agdemir, who is president of WBAF Academy and High Commission of WBAF for Turkey. Adnan. It is also my great pleasure to invite Professor Leonid Nakov, who is Director of Center for Economic Research from University of Kirilo and Methodi from Skopje. Dear Leonid, welcome. Again, another honor to announce our dear friend, Professor Panayotis Ketikidis, the University of Sheffield International Faculty and Chairperson of CERC from Greece and co-founder of HEBA. And of course, last but not least, our dear WBA Fellow and High Commissioner from Bangladesh, Mr. Sabur Khan, Chairman of Daffodil International University from Bangladesh. Welcome. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming after the lunch. We have distinguished guests here today. I'm Adnan Agdemir. I'm the president of the Academy. And the Academy's role is to find and search ways to improve the whole ecosystem. So we try to distinguish which methods have been successful, and we try to incorporate it. And for that reason, there's several different versions of entrepreneurship education around the world that our guests coming from different parts of the world will be shared with us. First, I have Professor Panayotis Ketikidis from Greece. He's the High Commissioner to Greece, and he's from the University of Sheffield International Faculty, City College. We have MD Sabur Khan, Chairman of Daffodil International University, Bangladesh. He's Vice President also to Association of Universities of Asia and the Pacific. And we have Professor Leonid Nakov, Director of Center of Economic Researches, Faculty of Economics, Skopje, Macedonia. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your projects in your territories? Shall we start, Panos?
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. Now, I will start with some to be self-critical, as now with my hat, because I used to be an entrepreneur, I used to work in the industry, I'm now an academic and also an investor, but let's do now with my hat as a professor of innovation to say a few things as a self-criticism to me, not for the other professors that are here. I will start with the statement that university professors, they want to make more university professors. So that's one thing that I would like to say. And here we are in an environment that is a WBAF, that we try, without entrepreneurs, there is no way to have growth, in the economy. But also a university, I want to go from the other side, it has the civic engagement to have better, members of the society, to, of course, to have the skills, but at the same time, those people, they must have the ethos to be ethical, and what we call it now, to be good entrepreneurs. So there are two indexes, as you know. There is the index of economic growth, but also there is another index that most of the entrepreneurs, they don't know, is the human development index. So you see how actually in the society you give back. So my concern in the last 10 years is, okay, we have to create good entrepreneurs from our educational system to have the skills, but also we must help to develop good citizens for the global society. Okay, so another thing that I would like to say, there is no way to have entrepreneurial universities if you don't have entrepreneurial academics. There is no way you can do that. So that's a big issue that we have now. In the universities, what they are telling us, in order like for me to become a professor, I had to publish in high impact journals, because our university is the 69th best university of the world in the rankings, in the world rankings, okay? We had 6 Nobel Prizes, graduates. That's amazing. And now another thing that we're doing, and I will not talk too much about what we are doing, it's better to discuss about, the educational system, but I will say the unique thing, because if you tell me one unique thing that your university is doing, we are actually within entrepreneurial university. Now, you will tell me how. We have 5 faculties in UK, and the 6th faculty, the international faculty, is in Greece. And we try to build up knowledge capacity in the area of Southeast Europe. Okay, that means the university is not only in USA or in United Kingdom or in Netherlands or in Pakistan, but also we have another faculty with the same values that, not to jeopardize the quality of education, that you can produce and maybe help the societies to have better citizens. So that's one unique thing. Another unique thing that I could say, because I can talk for hours, but this is not educational what we're doing from our institutions, we have something that we run our executive MBA in 9 different countries. I publish for this and I call it the flying faculty model. That means, as you know, the executive MBAs is only Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I take this group of people, one from the industry, one from the academia, another 2 people practitioners, and we go together in Ukraine, in Georgia, in Azerbaijan, and we run our executive MBA. Next month, we go to another country in Albania and so on. Okay, so this is the 2 things that we are very proud. And the last thing, I said 2, but the last thing, also we established the Southeast European Research Center, and just if we do a pitch, what is a Southeast European? We try to build up knowledge capacity in the area of Southeast Europe, giving free scholarships for PhD students in order to keep the students in the area and not to move to United States, okay, with the little capacity that we have. Full stop, because we have other people to talk.
Thank you. I think that I just started with the professors. One of the remarks that professor always love to create a lot of professor. So I'm sure that as an entrepreneur, I also love to create a lot of entrepreneur. And that is one of the key reason while I established university in 2002. I just focused that our university should be an entrepreneur university. As he rightly pointed out, that if there is not a successful entrepreneur, if there is not a ecosystem is not developed inside the university, then university cannot say it's an entrepreneur university. And at the same time, the alumni, number of alumni, how much they are contributing to the entrepreneurial area, I said that should be one of the indication. And at the same time, I should say the professor is also mentioned that the university ranking, I think it will be depend on the publication. But I myself in our university, I always fought with my faculty that you have plenty of publication, but how much publication is really implementable? Because if it is not implementing, if it is keeping in the papers, then I'm sure this publication will not be fruitful for the university. So that's why I should say that always in my faculty that please I will give you the reward and special recognition if your all publication is come to the implementation. Because what the difference between the academician and the entrepreneur? Definitely nowadays, there's an academician also, I should say, there is a lot of academician need to be also get identification as an academia-preneur. I should say academia-preneur, because a lot of academician is also, they have the entrepreneurial mindset. They like to change. I think as he rightly mentioned that he already visited a lot of places, tried to negotiate with the entrepreneur industry. So what happened? Because in education system need to be transformed considering the present market scenario. That this millennium student, they are always very focused on the social networking. So I must say that our all class activities and our interaction with the teacher student must be transformed through the social networking. So students should enjoy their class before coming to the class. And we know the massive course online system, and a lot of these tools is developing every day. If we go to the startup, young startup, they always also flourishing a lot of their idea how the education system need to be transformed, need to be developed. Because the student, whenever they are coming to the class, I think they should enjoy. If the student is enjoy the class and they should interact with the teacher, I think this should be also the one of the success of a teacher. Because teacher need to be change his class model. As our topics is non-business student, the non-business student can become also entrepreneur, because it does not matter, because innovation is not matter that come to the which department. Innovation can come to the literature, innovation can come to the engineering department, innovation come to the any other department. It may be law department, it may be journalism, mass communication, whatever department, it does not matter. The matter is the person. The person, whatever exactly he or she already keeping in his or her mind. Because we know that innovation and entrepreneurship, this both if coming together, then I'm quite sure that a person, if he or she do not have good idea, but if he is innovative, if he is entrepreneurial minded, he can bring the good idea. Like today, 50 startup already we are seeing that the almost 30 is already finished before lunch. So what happened? Maybe one innovative student, an entrepreneurial minded student, if he is getting opportunity to know the 50 startup, maybe he can get the idea. He can get the idea, he can find out the right IT person, he can find out the marketing people, he can find out the funding. Because nowadays, access to finance is very easy. Of course, 20 years back, 15 years back, finance was the important factor. But nowadays, finance does not matter. A lot of financial people are waiting. A lot of angel investors are already waiting. So, but the thing is that angel investor and all of the investors are much curious that how much professionally developed our student, how much they are serious to implement their idea, how much they are getting the preparation to before going to their implementation of their idea. So that's why education system, I must say that it is the time teachers need to be identify the best innovative student, entrepreneurial minded student. If teacher is find out the entrepreneurial minded student, I think teachers also need to be interact with the student. I'm sure that nowadays if teacher is throw his class lecture to the student, if he asks to his class student, how can I perform better class? How can you already grab all of my class? I'm quite sure that the student will interact with the teacher. That okay, if you go through by this way, if you send your PowerPoint presentation or some of the video before coming to the class, then we can interact with you in the class so that all of the time, student whenever they are getting the opportunity, they can interact with the teacher. So I must say again that due to cause of social networking, due to cause of YouTube, due to cause of Google, due to cause of a lot of search engine, I think nowadays knowledge is very easy to earn from any places. If anyone has the internet, I'm sure everybody know it. At the same time, the teaching style need to be also transferred and updated because Industrial Revolution 4. So what happened? The robot, AI, virtual reality, blockchain, the big data, all of the thing is coming now. Everything, every day, the technology is changing. But how much we are changing our education system? You see the teacher, the 10 years back, 20 years back, whatever contents he or she is already delivering to the class, I think still now we are seeing the same contents they are trying to deliver to the student. I think that's need to be changed because we know that this mobile technology, whatever mobile we are using today, maybe we don't know that day after tomorrow, this mobile will be phased out. There is a new technology is becoming. At the industrial side, hospitality, service, medical, every sector we are finding that a lot of the changing is coming. But it is very bad luck, education system we are finding that not much interaction is coming. So that's why I should say that we must not focus only the non-business or the subjects category. Rather, it is time for the teacher, or the professor, for the university to look after the innovative and entrepreneurial minded student. As again I should say, once upon a time, the teacher always giving the priority to the sportsmen, those who are very actively involved the extracurriculum activities and sports activities, teacher always giving the highest priority. But this is time. The academic system need to be also respect to the student, those who are entrepreneurial minded students, those who are innovative minded students, those who are sharing their experience and turning the education system in the new dimension. Because every day we know that the new idea is coming. So idea, few people, especially I'm not undermining the faculty. Of course, a lot of the faculty has a lot of good contribution. That is the reason that education system is also rising day by day. But at the same time, more than 50% faculty, they are following the traditional system. So this teacher also need to be changed. I think the 50% or some few of the percentage of the teacher, those who are very active, they should also take the initiative to change other teacher. So what happened, they can also nurture the innovative student, they can nurture the technological driven student, they can nurture the ecosystem, and you know that the student, whenever they are studying, they can visit to the industry, they can talk with the industrial people, they can also start some of the innovative idea. I think as a professor, if he is finding that one of his students is started any business, whatever subject he or she is running, that doesn't matter. I think the teacher should appreciate that efforts, that yes, you are in the right track. Because after completion of your education, what he will do? He will fighting for his getting a one business or job, that is for career. So while he will be studying or he will be running to the education system, if he can establish one business, one startup, I am quite sure he should get the praise and he should get the recognition. So other students can follow. Oh, my professor is already recognized, appreciate, and respect to one of my friend, one of my peers. So what happened? Other students also will follow. So that's why it's my observation that our education system need to be transformed. Our education system need to be respect for the innovative and entrepreneurial minded student, whatever subject or whatever discipline they are running. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sabu. Professor Nakov.
Thank you, Adnan. Also thanks to my previous presenters for their views on the needed changes in the entire educational system in order to establish a model that would be stimulative enough for prosperous businesses. While listening to my previous colleagues, Sabur mentioned one sentence that explains in a great dimension the essence of the educational process in higher education. He mentioned that students enjoy classes mostly before classes. It is a clear indication that each professor should work on himself to be a complete professor, not only a presenter of a methodology. Because I would illustrate that from the case of the educational system in my country. The complete educational model in Yugoslavia has been built on a combination of French and German model, predominantly on the French model, which far more relies on methodological explanation. And usually our students, when they continue their education in Western universities, they were always among one of the 3 top ranked, whereas in practice, when they got employment, they were not ranked as the first rated managers in enterprises. So logically something went wrong. When we're speaking of creating an entrepreneurial culture, we must emphasize that the culture is an integral part of the behavior. But I must pay attention to the fact that we are not lacking
because we are socially very inclusive environment. We're not lacking of mutual cooperation. We are predominantly lacking of mutual trust. The question of building an entrepreneurial behavior lies on possessing trust in the entire system, meaning institutional predictability of the changes that each state would do to stimulate this type of behavior. So our focus here, I perceive, should be on creating so-called processes that add value, because people must cooperate around something that creates competitiveness, then creates sustainability with all three dimensions: economic, social, and environmental one. I will illustrate this with one real example. I will not only mention the name of the company, that is a real case. One of the factories in northern part of Macedonia, then in the transition period faced problems, and it's not operating today. It is split up in a majority of small businesses, which again produce shoes predominantly for the Italian market. At that time, the CEO of the company sent two sectoral managers, the manager of finances and the manager of sales, in one African country to explore the market for selling their shoes in this country. And they both send reports to the CEO that has placed them there to analyze the market. In the first report is written, in this country is very hot, people do not have a habit to wear shoes a lot, so we have a limited market, full stop. In the second report, the manager says, in this country, people still are not using the entire potential of wearing shoes, so we should create their habit for various modalities on shoes, and we will have an enormous market. Unfortunately, the general manager accepted the report of the first manager, and the company was facing a big problem and broke down after several years. So I'm explaining in a real example how we can make a difference in the entrepreneurial behavior of the companies, because besides being a professor at the faculty, I'm having a huge activity in the professional education of managers. I'm the only national trainer of Adizes methodology of management, leadership, and changes. That is in the field of business development. Practically, we are dealing with analyzing the company from the stage of its life cycle, because we face the problems of our stage, meaning we see what we are in at the moment. We cannot see something that we are out at the moment. And we have one very good proverb for changes in the educational system. And it will be indicated again with a real example. Two people were in the middle of the desert, and they were not seeing around them water. And the lion started to approach them. They were lying on the sand, and suddenly one of them started to put his shoes on and preparing to run. And the second one asks him, why are you putting your shoes? You cannot overrun the lion. No, he says, I am not willing to overrun the lion. I'm willing to overrun you, because he will be satisfied when he gets to one of us. And after that, I will have a position to make some changes in the future. So, if we speak of fundamental elements that we need to change, first I must mention that when they get to the faculties, to university level, they are already subject to some changes which are not sufficient enough, I must emphasize, because of several reasons. For example, we have to introduce contemporary methods which are used for so-called creative thinking in the primary education, because in this segment, people that are enrolled in the primary education, they don't have a systematic thinking, but their creative thinking leads to some pathway in their educational career, which counselors in the primary education should follow, because the talent should be developed. The talent should not be suppressed. And the most opened way to manifest talent is in the primary education, not as majority of people think in the university education. On the degree of secondary education, we must enter the modalities of so-called dual education, meaning after finishing the second education, we must have as countries separate programs for developing their skills and expertise for certain types of crafts, because we must be aware of the fact that not majority of the population can be subject to university education, whereas in the faculty level we must step into so-called professional education, not only academic education. Majority of faculties are faculties of academic education, meaning they do not transfer their knowledge, skills and experience through real case studies. Frankly speaking, in Balkan region, when you ask a certain company to create their own real case study, they will say, please do not ask me. It's a subject of privacy. Especially do not ask me figures and so on and so on. Whereas we can see that in Western companies and universities, they outsource also the financial function. So it indicates that the point is to have an efficiency at a better price, far more than to keep certain secret inside of the company. Okay, for the beginning, I would stop here.
Thank you, Professor Neko. Maybe before going into the questions, last take-home message to our audience. Let's start with you. Yes.
Try to be fair. Okay. Let me again be provocative. I believe strongly that the current way that we do education is the 19th century approach. Even what we're doing today, the only thing that we eliminate from front of us is the table. In the past we had the table, so we pull the table and we have this. So something that we have to consider, and I think is the last ivory tower, is the universities, that not many people could touch them. Because university professors, they become ministers, and once they become ministers, they think also their profession and they want to keep it the same way. So that's my provocative, my personal views, not my institutional views. Okay, now, that's one thing. Creativity, my friend Leonid said. Maybe you read the book from Sir Ken Robinson. He said a story, was a young lady that she was not good in maths and things like that, and in order to encourage her, went around her, and she was drawing class, was that day, and she was good on drawing, and said, what are you drawing? She said, I'm drawing God. Said, but we don't know how God looks like. And she said, you will know in a minute. Okay, so this is the way that we should let people be creative in our classes. And another thing, in order to encourage and again be provocative of my undergraduate and master students, I say to my students once I enter in my class that I'm professor of innovation, I say to them is the first thing that you should try to do is your own company. If you fail, you become a consultant, and if you fail, you become a university professor. Okay, in order, and I mean that, okay? Because I went through all these stages myself. I started from the industry, I did my own company, and then a consultancy, and then professor to give back to the society. Now, another thing that, and I close with this, we need global citizens with employability skills to respect diversity, but not only cultural diversity, and this is something very difficult to do. We try from our side, and I'm not claiming that we're doing it fine, but in the syllabi that we give them, depending of what skills, you know, if we give them cultural skills, intelligence skills, or critical thinking, we have a batch on the syllabi in order for them, first of all, to know, and if they want to get some extra batches, some other skills, they have to do some extra curriculum activities so they can come with proof that they went to the industry people, they work there for internship, they have a report in order to accompany this. Because at the end of the day, In the next 10 days, even if you have a degree, is nothing will happen, nothing. If I go to Adnan and say I have a degree, he will start asking me questions. He's not stupid. And if he see I can offer something to his company, then he will hire me. So that's what I say to my students, even though we say, okay, our University of Sheffield is the best. Okay, I can understand that, okay, because of the papers, because of the Nobel Prizes, but nowadays, even our university and all of the UK universities, they're asking us to say, you are doing a research. What is the impact to the society? What is the impact to commercialization? And we have these REF exercises, we call them, Research Excellence Framework. They understood also the universities, but only creating papers is not enough. You must do, research that could be applied and commercialized. And I close with this. My best model for this now is, this is what I call it, and there is actually a term, triple helix. Government, industry, and academia, they should work together, they should collaborate in order to innovate. Because the role of the government is to align and put rules, the role of the universities is to produce knowledge, and the role of the industries is to commercialize. Okay, full stop.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just again bringing one of these topics, as he rightly, Professor mentioned, that he insists his student to become the entrepreneur. So I should say also, I really love it, because it's my personal view also. If any student is trying to become an entrepreneur, and if in any cases he failed to become an entrepreneur, that is his success. Because after becoming failure of an entrepreneur, if student is going to get a job to any of the company, I'm quite sure he can tell supply chain, marketing, branding, balance sheet, everything he can tell, HR, because a short span of time, what exactly he tried to become an entrepreneur, between this time he learned a lot. So that's why I personally also insist to our students that please try to become an entrepreneur, whatever entrepreneur. If you like to sell the mineral water, you do it. You try to sell mineral water. You try to see how can you convince to the other people to sell the mineral water, and you can get the lot of knowledge. And well, after few months, few years, if you find you are not successful in an entrepreneur, it is your success, because between this time you learn all of the key point of the entrepreneurial journey. So it will be very easy for you to make you successful, and then it will be easier for you to make yourself as an entrepreneur. Because, a lot of entrepreneurs, they have the money, plenty of money. If our moderator, Adnan Bhai, I think, he has a lot of idea, he has a lot of financial strength. But if he get a lot of good people that who will establish the company, or inside his company, if he's finding that some few people is come forward, he's asking him, I have this sort of idea. I'm quite sure if he get confident, he can say, go ahead, I'll help you. That means inside the company, I think he can become an entrepreneur. It is not necessary to become an entrepreneur. So these sorts of also education system we need to be transformed and giving the idea. Because students every time they thought that at the time of the education, they always think that I like to get a job. But why they should think that only for the job? Why not they should think first that I like to become an entrepreneur. I will provide job to the other people. Well, in any cases, if he failed, then he should think that, okay, I try to provide job to other people, but I cannot accommodate myself. So that's why he can think to join as a job. At the same time, I should that one of the point of this which he also very mentioned, Professor, that education level need to be also, the creativity need to be transformed from the primary education, secondary education, higher education. So what will be happen? You see, if you go to doctor, if you go to the hospital, I'm sure the hospital will give you the one ID number. And that ID number, I think that hospital will keep you all of your blood test, all of your pulse, everything they will keep it. So after 5 years, if you go there, he can tell you that, oh, your pulse is very good now, okay, your sugar level is going down. But you see, in our education system, it is very surprised. We cannot tell that what exactly the creativity of our student they have. If we can say, if the teacher can say that, okay, while you are in the class 5 or while you are in the student 9, you created this sorts of good idea, and you already implemented this idea. What is your position? I love it. Can you start it again? So if the teacher is getting this information, counseling one-to-one, and keeping the all database inside one file, that will be easier. A student also will get the confidence, because 90% cases we find that our student in the preliminary, primary stages, they create a lot of innovative idea, but they are not getting the proper attention. So what happens? Slowly, they remove their idea and they go to the another idea. But I'm sure that this is also wrong education system. Our education system also need to be follow up each and every point of the student. And at the same time, I should say that teacher, whenever they will to giving the teaching, I think this is the time. This time, only the good students should not become a teacher. I'm so sorry, I don't like to again undermine any teacher. But keeping my respect to the teacher, they should go to the industry first. Or after few years education, they should go to the industry. At least 1 year, 2 years, they should attach with the industry. So they should know that what exactly they are teaching to the student, or what exactly the deliberation they are already doing. Is it effective for the industry or not? So I am sure that the teacher, if they go to the industry and they work with the industry, and they should invite to some of the industry, and of course at the same time they should take some few students also to the industry, and they can talk with the right industry stakeholder. Then I am listening, I am just lecturing them this course. Is it right? Am I moving in the right track? Is it my theory is okay? Do you think that my course curriculum need to be developed? Because as I already mentioned earlier, the 20 years, 10 years, a lot of course curriculum is not developed. Same books our students are already following, but that should be changed. I think every day, this is the time, technological era, industrial revolution 4. I'm sure that now, every day, every month, every week, we need to develop our course curriculum. And of course, the teachers and education system should move to the industry. Industry should come to the education system. And between this, students also need to interact. Students also need to know that what exactly their target. Because every student, due to cause of technology, they can learn a lot of things. Even before coming to the class or in the lecture, I think very easily they can search whatever best lecture is available in the YouTube or Google. So if the teacher is failure to convince to the student, I think student can easily produce to the teacher or to their friend circle that this is the best lecture is in the Harvard, in the MIT or Stanford or some other university. You go through this lecture, you can understand better than our teacher. I think it is not an undermining of a teacher. Rather, teacher should feel proud that, oh, I got a best case study that which he can also follow. Because if the teacher thought that why student will be fingering me to referring to the other university lecture, I think that should not be fair. Nowadays, the teacher's mentality, the education system mentality need to be adopted in such a way that we should develop good students for our society. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Nagar.
Thank you, Adnan. I would like to, in this final segment, send 3 messages to all current or potential entrepreneurs, and especially, I would say, business developers, because we're not speaking of creating something new. Far more complicated is to maintain a certain company on a higher level of performance. The first one I will illustrate with one reality that we professors have at our universities. We usually remember the worst and the best students. Those in the middle we do not remember a lot because they are majority of the students. But in practice, as far as I can speak of Macedonian practice, majority of students that we perceive to be worse or average are successful managers, successful holders, or even public positions. And I usually, when I communicate with them, they usually have one very important sentence to say. What I needed from the educational system, I have taken from practice. So this illustrates that they are pretty well aware of the necessity of the fundamental idea that Professor Panos started, my friend, and it is the necessity to create boards, committees for a joint preparation of curriculums, for a joint analysis of the influence towards creating skills, capabilities, expertise that are needed for the types of industry that are prevalent for one economy. Because each of the national economies has various priorities and various economic policies, what is very, very important. The second message that I would like to convey today is the fact that every owner of a private business should strive to read all the signals that he receives, not only from his friends, professors, from the period that he has undertaken education, but far more from the environment in which he is functioning, because there is one very good explanation for that. We all have a picture of who we are and what we lack of, but our picture is memorized on our back. So everybody else can see except of us. We believe we are good at analytical skills, but customers, suppliers think we are bad. Everybody thinks that we are good with stimulating the employees, but employees are not satisfied. They are not coming with enthusiasm on work. So read the signals, because people usually send you messages without words, what we say. So it's a huge capability of each entrepreneur. Then the third one, I would like to express the necessity of becoming a member of a network of enterprises. I do not mean only within the Chamber of Commerce. Let me be precise. I mean on an international level, enterprises of your industry that share similar problems and exchange their opinions. For example, there are several networks in the field of change management that I teach at the faculty. I can only mention some of them, in which it's openly to enroll and to exchange types of problems and to read solutions of others that face those problems before you, like Nofia, like Inform, and some other networks. So read their experience and do not repeat their mistakes. So in this segment, we must be aware of the fact that the effect of the university education is seen in practice. So what we are doing is seen in a good local municipalities, in a good national institution, in sustainable businesses, in competitive environment, not forcing some monopolistic environment in some industry sector, and so on and so on. Thank you, Adnan.
Thank you very much. To catch with the time, I think we have a little bit, one question maybe we can take. Okay, but we have to. Any questions? Please, Eva.
I'm usually not asking any questions when I'm doing MC, but I was really provoked in a positive manner. Few questions, but just a short intro. From my humble experience, because I'm an entrepreneur for the past 12 years, not longer than that, and I'm teaching at the university for past 11 years. And I had an opportunity to see different kinds. What, by your opinion, anyone who is willing to give an answer, and then I have a question for Professor Kitikidis, what are the key elements of university that is fostering entrepreneurial capabilities of the students? Because Professor Kitikidis gave an excellent comment. There cannot be an entrepreneurial university without an entrepreneurial professors. Why? When I was studying, I had a professor. For those who know me, you know that I take notes, and I have a relevant concentration. But that was the person who made me to fall asleep. And his subject was related to teach me how to make money. I wanted to find out how to make money, and I fell asleep. So I gave you all elements of what I did for the second lesson. I went out for good from his classes. So what are the elements that, how we can spark creativity and innovation and entrepreneurial spirit among the students? By our example, by hubs, by different and unique extracurricular activities? That's one question. And the question for Professor Kitikidis. You mentioned papers. I read one study. I forgot, and sorry for the ignorance, I forgot made by who. I know it was made in US, that the average number of readers of average scientific article is 10. And we started joking, including family members. So with or without family members, the impact of scientific article is, I'm sorry to all of us, close to zero for the real life. So is it fair that universities, especially in our region, have been evaluated by the number of published papers and not maybe also by some other indicators such as the number of successful companies, the number of successful entrepreneurs, the number of employed students or unemployed students? Because in my country we have a very awkward situation that there are universities whose PhDs are without job. So tell me, I mean, this is rhetoric. If there is a university whose PhD or PhDs are without job, who to blame? The PhD student or professors? I would have billion questions, but I will stop in sake of time and the audience. But this is an amazing panel, and thank you to all four of you for an amazing insights, because this topic is crucial for all of us for the next at least 55 years. Thank you very much.
Maybe I say about the publications. This is true what you've said, Ivan, about publications, but the educational systems worldwide, as I said earlier, in order to become lecturer, associate, assistant, associate, and professor, you must publish. Now, you are right that currently there were high-impact journals that they had 0 citation. 4-star journal, 0 citations. Now, I can see from the British educational system, they are telling us with the new research excellence framework that they are not talking for high-impact journals. We are talking now, in our words, for high-quality papers. What do they mean by that? They mean, okay, you must have some citations, but mostly is what you provide to the industry, to the academia. That's why you have to link. I'm not saying we're doing big steps. I think they are doing slow steps in UK universities, but now at least they are pushing us to show a link between the paper and the impact. And the impact is not so easy, because we have to say how many companies you brought, what make a difference. That's why when we ask a master student or a PhD student, we say, okay, you are doing this master thesis. Why is worth doing that? If they don't answer that, and for the academics, I'm using that in the last 10 years, as we have the 3-minute pitch in the entrepreneurs, there is now, I don't know if you are aware, and I'm using that in the last 10 years, we have the 3 minutes thesis, meaning 80,000 words, a student has to come, in 3 minutes we give them, we have a competition, and they must say, what is actually the contribution that they are doing? What is the impact to the society? How this can be commercialized? This is a move actually that started, this is not my own innovative idea, from Australia, and now they are using it all over the world. And I like it that very much, because this is my entrepreneurial mind. Instead, because I was doing innovation pitching and things, now we have a competition for our master students and PhD students in 3 minutes, front of the audience, to say what is their PhD all about. And then the best one, we send them to the global competitions. So things are moving, but slowly. Now, what has to happen? The ministries of education, they have to change. And I'm not saying not to publish, okay, but give us the opportunity to publish 60%, whatever you are asking, high quality papers, and give me 40% to be innovative. You know, to go and work with industries and to bring money from the industries as a consultancy. And that will be your metrics. You know, if I can have a spin-off, you know, from inside, then so I can become a professor and not to stay, you know, always lecturer, because I have a different mindset. So we destroy the introverts in the class, because the extroverts, they say, I have a question. But there are introverts back there that we should ask them, what do you think about that, without embarrassing them, so they can tell you something new. And these two people, an extrovert and introvert, we have to put them together in order to make a great team and to have a great company together, in my view. And I finish with this. We always see engineering people, management and things. Usually when I go to pitches, I said, have you ever thought to hire a psychologist? And they look at me. I have plenty of things to tell you why you need a psychologist for any type of project. Okay, I stop it because I can talk forever for this. I'm very passionate about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great answer.
Should I say the first question? The first question is, usually you are right, that entrepreneur university should be proved if inside the university they develop a lot of ecosystem. You see, first of all, the students should get the opportunity for showing their product. Exactly in our university, we call it startup market. Every week, student can participate in the market and they can show their product, they can show their strength. Second, you see, university inside also should have some facility. So the student, whenever they like to develop some business, I think they should get some opportunity. Not only, I don't like to say the business incubator. I should say there's some open spaces where the majority of the student will be coming. A lot of crowd should be there. The student should prove and they should demonstrate that some of the idea to the other student. Because that it is very easy to convince to the peer student. The friend easily get their convinced. So at the same time, I think university should also have some facility, like in our university we develop EDF fund, Entrepreneurship Development Fund. If any student is trying to flourish some small idea, I think their parents may not interested to funding them. So inside the university we develop some Entrepreneurship Development Fund. We give them interest free. So our intention should get back the money from to them. So these sorts of I think due to time shortage, I don't like to go. We have almost these sorts of 70 plus facility. We already day by day we developing inside the university. That talking with the students, seeing their failure, seeing their success. We are trying to gradually increase this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to give some insights on your very inspiring question. Ivan, I believe that in a higher educational system, we must go step ahead, meaning in each semester to determine a period of time, either 2 weeks or a month, in which the educational model would be entirely applicative, meaning either to be undertaken in-field in some enterprise, some national institution, or they should come to the students and determine the challenge to be solved, and then they should be stimulated for a creative thinking and the best solution to be awarded. Maybe on that way even to select candidates for their free positions for employment. And the second aspect is regarding for the quality of the educational system. We must be aware of the fact that formal national conditions are usually subject of unification on an international level. So majority of countries follow the famous Shanghai list for ranking the universities. But what I can tell you from our experience is that a lot of elements that are creative in the universities cannot be explained through some criteria of this Shanghai list. So try to enable entire creativity both from professors and from students, because on that way changes would be happening faster than in a planned period of 3 years to change the curriculum. So involvement of talented students is a huge potential that we professors should use, not to treat them only as professors. Again, thank you on your question.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have to stop here. Thank you for all joining us today. Thank you again for great insight.